So all summer long, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, he's only going to be gone for 12 days. It's not even 2 weeks. This is going to be a piece of cake. When my husband transitioned to his new career last year, we knew that he was going to spend probably at least 6 months out of his first 2 years away from home. And then after that, of course, he would always have the possibility of deployment looming over him. Um, but knowing that in advance really hasn't made the separations any easier. And so this summer, as he was getting ready to go away on this 12-day course, I think I took more the route of denial than I did actually preparing myself. I didn't really take the time to prepare myself emotionally and spiritually for this time apart. And maybe that's what contributed to those 12 days being so hard. Because really, it wasn't just the loneliness. I felt vulnerable spiritually. And, the enemy, he knows those weak spots in our armor. And isolation is his favorite condition under which to strike at those chinks. And so his fiery darts came fast and furious. I mean, my husband might be the one with the military career, but for those 12 days, I was waging war in the battlefield of my mind. And so finally, the 12th day came, and I was supposed to pick John up from the airport late that night, and I was headed home from town earlier in the day by myself in the car, and another bombardment of my thoughts assailed me. And I, by this point, was fed up. I was ready to just hack my way to the root of these thoughts and just rip them out by the roots. And so in my spirit, I just exclaimed, I don't want to think about that. And in that instant, it was as if the eyes of my understanding were opened, and I realized I'm never going to find victory in this based on my wants, because those were the very things that were making this a battle in the first place. I mean, in some ironic way, those thoughts, those temptations, they were playing on my inclinations. I mean, there was part of me in some weird way, I suppose, that wanted, quote unquote, wanted to think about those things. That's what made it a battle. And so I realized in that moment, if I have any hope of victory, I'm going to have to paddle all the way upstream of my wants and go straight for the headwaters of my will. And so I said aloud, I will what my Heavenly Father wills. And as soon as I said that, I'm telling you, I felt a measure of strength in my crippled spirit that I hadn't felt in weeks. So I continued to pray with the words of Jesus himself when he said, not my will, but yours be done. And I told God, I know your will for my life is good and pleasing and perfect. And it might sound a little weird, but there was almost this sense of whatever sinister force had been plaguing me. It was as if I could sense its displeasure in my newfound strength and its seeming impotence. And I learned an important lesson that day, and it's a lesson that God's taught me in the past, but I had forgotten how to live it out. And it's this lesson that I don't win my battles by fighting them. I win them by being still and putting my attention and my focus on the one who's already fought and won my battles. And I think that's one of the biggest lies of temptation, is that we think we've got to reason or resist our way out of it. But really, victory comes when we still ourselves long enough to align our will with our Father's will. Because as long as we're engaged in fighting, we're focused on those things that we want. um, and the enemy knows that. Um, and if he can keep us distracted by those things, it's a doomed dance with darkness for us. Even if we think that we're fighting in God's strength, really, our only hope is just to refuse the dance altogether, to be still and recognize that the battle actually belongs to the Lord. He's the one that's going to fight it. And so I think about that verse, in Psalm 46 that says that very thing: be still and know that I am God. And that verb for be still, the Hebrew word, actually means to slacken or to release your grip on something. So some translations actually translate it as let go and know that I am God. One translation actually words it as stop fighting and know that I am God. Because we don't overcome temptation by battling it, but by dying to it. And I think what I was reminded of that day is that I don't find victory by engaging with my adversary. My only hope of victory is in engaging with my God.